As per usual, Arturia just shadow dropped another big release. This time their FX collection was updated to version 5. And while I'm not a rabid fanboy of Arturia's effects, there was one effect that immediately made me update the whole bundle. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no problem with Arturia's effects. I find them just fine and I use them often in my work. But as a sound designer, my taste is usually seeking things that go outside the boundaries of what can be called normal. That is why I immediately got interested in the new Refract effect. Basically, Refract is an effect trying to mimic the behavior you get when putting a synthesizer in Unison mode. For you who don't know, Unison is an effect that multiplies the existing waveform in a synth into two or many more identical copies, and then lets you detune these into one massive sound. This is basically what the famous supersaw from the Roland JP8000 is all about. Going from a clean saw to a saw in Unison creates one huge sound that kind of reminds one of a next level chorus effect. Now, you might think, how on earth is this supposed to work? In a synth, each waveform is generated and detuned individually. But this is an effect and not a synthesizer, right? Right. In order to do this, the plugin has to do some very fast-paced trickery. By listening to the incoming signal, then quickly replicating it as quickly as it possibly can, and spread out the result over a number of faked copies. Just speaking generally here, you will never reach the same accuracy and clearness with an effect like this compared with the true unison function at the source of the waveform. But that doesn't mean it's bad. The result is often a bit smeared, and if you think of it like a next level chorus, you won't be disappointed. So, let's see what this new effect is capable of. Technically speaking, this is a multi-effect with two built-in effects. The Unison engine, called Refraction, and a swappable effect slot with bandpass filter, bit crusher, comb filter, distortion, and harmonizer. The Unison engine lets you change the amount, detune, and the number of voices. There is also a modulation source that can be used to modulate either the detune of the Unison, the swappable effect slot, or both. Let's begin with the Unison engine. Here is a simple sawtooth from Diva, and I gradually add more voices with the Arturia effect. In comparison, this is how a supersaw sounds like in Diva. Arturia Refract, Yuhi Diva. One is clearly better than the other, but the value in an effect like Refract is twofold. Firstly, you can use it to create unison effects on synthesizers that doesn't have unison. For example, listen to this filter sweep from the Behringer Wasp. The modulation source can be pretty fun if you put the modulator to random and the wetness to max. One thing I really like is that you can filter out parts you don't want to be affected by the Arturia with a high pass and low pass filter. So if you want the Unison only to work on the high end of your signal, you can. The second swappable effect is alright and lets you to do fun additional things to the signal, but in all honesty, I feel the second effect is more of a way to pad the plugin with more functionality than it needs to. Personally, I see myself create my own effect chains after the Unison engine in Ableton. What's offered here is simply not enough for my personal perverted needs. But that being said, the effects are absolutely not bad. The harmonizer effect is really fun as it captures the sound of old pitch shifter effects from back in the day, creating octaves, intervals and chords with that typical sound of technology trying to do more than it's capable of. That is not a bad criticism from my part. It gives a cool old school hardware flavor and I really like it. To show what I mean, here is another sawtooth from Diva playing a minor chord. Here is a single voice sawtooth from Diva being turned into a minor chord from the Arturia. Diva, Arturia. I don't know. I find the effect charming. So, all in all, I am really happy I bought the update for just this one effect. It won't fool anyone that you have a real Moog 1 with 8 uber-fat Unison voices. But who cares? It's a cool effect in its own right and my personal highlight in the collection. Did you upgrade your bundle yet? Which effect did you find most useful? Let me know in the comments below. And by the way, what do you feel about the way Arturia releases things? Do you prefer releases to come like this, from a clear blue sky? Or do you prefer to be teased days or weeks before release?